Good morning and welcome back to another 10 questions with Jamie. As some of you may already know and some of you may not, typically what we do here is I spend some time with a guest and we go through a series of questions in hopes to get to know the individual a little bit better. Well, today we've decided we're going to flip the script a little bit, and Dennis Anderson is with me, and if you can recall, he was with me a month or so ago going through the questions, but I think what we're going to do today is Dennis is going to go through the questions with me, and we'll get to know me a little bit better this morning. And so Dennis, thank you again for suggesting this, and thank you again for taking the time to go through the questions with me.
Oh, you're welcome, Jamie. I thought it would be a good switch. A lot of people, I think, don't really know you.
Right, right.
You, but not in the way these 10 questions go.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I think it's a brilliant idea. Yeah, yeah.
I'm happy to do this. Well, I'll get on with the questions.
Okay, thank you.
I'll be Jamie. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay, Jamie, now, where were you born?
So I was born in Perth, Ontario, here where we are, and spent most of my life here. Grew up here with schooling. I left, essentially traveled the world through work, different number of jobs, and then I've made my way back to this area. So I've done essentially a complete circle from birth to where I am today.
Wow. So you were born where?
In Perth, here, Perth, Ontario.
Right here in Perth.
Yeah.
Right, I thought I caught that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, you have we all have our different types of music that we listen to. And I was curious, what is your favorite music?
Yeah, well, believe it or not, it's pretty much a mixed bag of things. I enjoy almost everything. Now, I'm going to get some flack for this comment, but my least favorite would be country. I do enjoy the odd country song. There's no question about that. But you know, by and large, country would be the very bottom of that list of long list of music types that I enjoy. I probably the most something upbeat, something that gets me going. It can be multiple genres that do so, but I'm one of those people that music really gets into the soul and into the bones, and so anything that can do that, I really enjoy.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, where you can feel the music.
Yeah.
That's the kind I like, really.
Yeah.
That always brings you to sometimes when I listen to music, it brings me to one of my favorite childhood memories. And
yeah.
Do you have a childhood memory?
You know what? I do. I had a lot of enjoyment growing up, especially in this area, small community, got to know a number of people that you grew up with, and your journey kind of collided together. And but going back to what I would say is one of the most often memories that I think back of, really puts a smile on my face, would be two individuals I grew up with as long as I can remember until essentially high school. So my whole childhood, Jason Fournier and Jonathan Kirkham, and basically we spent hours and hours playing outside, hockey, baseball, games made up between sports. And, there really wasn't a childhood memory without one of those, or if not both of those guys in it. So those are the type of memories that I cherish the most.
John McGurk, you say. I would have had a classmate in my school. His name was John McGurk.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but he'd be around my age.
Yeah, well, actually, this was Jonathan Kirkham, so slightly different. Yeah, but yeah.
So you're growing up, you're in Perth, and you're around a lot of other places. Did you ever think of a profession that you wanted to be other than what you're doing, or maybe you're doing what you wanted to be?
Well, as a young child, and especially a young boy. Canadian boy, when I first, my first pre-teens, I really had aspirations to become a pro athlete and NHL hockey player. And I was very heavily involved in sports, and I really enjoyed being involved in sports, but hockey was one that really stood out. And man, I could spend hours playing inside, outside, organized sports, not organized. It was just something that I always wanted to do. Now, of course, that the percentage of that happening is very small. So you always have something else that you kind of think that, you know, if that didn't work out. And oddly enough, it was to be a zoologist. I really loved learning about animals, especially the exotic ones. I really was fascinated to be involved with them, you know, going to zoos and educational programs, and was really educating myself on animals. And so that was always something that early on in my life, I thought, you know, I could see myself being.
Wow, boy, that's something else. I don't know if I've run into anybody that might want to be a zoologist.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
I'm a little different.
Yeah. Now here's a question for you. I got to hear this one.
Okay.
If you could spend one day with anybody, I think, what would it be?
If I was to choose anything to do for a day, what would I do? Yeah. I would, you know, I've always had a fascination with Alaska, and I'm a skier, was a skier more so than I am now. But that was always a dream of mine, is to go heli skiing in the backcountry, back in the mountains, and go skiing in a helicopter in Alaska, you know, when around just you. Now it's something that I've always wanted to do with family, so they would be involved in that. It wouldn't be necessarily by myself, but that's always something that has never changed from a young child, was always wishing to have the opportunity to ski the mountains in Alaska. Just no cell phones, no connection to the outside world, just you in the mountain, nature, and then, you know, enjoying what it has to offer.
Yeah, we had that kind of peace when I was a kid. We didn't have any cell phones.
Yeah.
You know, it's odd because I wanted to work on search and rescue when I was. I've been up in a few helicopters. And well, I thought that would be really nice.
Yeah, I bet.
I weighed 110 pounds when I got married.
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's great. Now, getting on to the biblical side, do you have a favorite Bible verse that seems to stay with you?
I do, and actually I have a couple, but just to begin here, there's so many to choose from, and depending on where my journey is in life, that changes. But where I am today, and what really sticks to me now and sticks out to me now are two, and I'll read them to you. The first one is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, and that is, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding.
Yeah.
And then the second one is very similar. It's Psalm chapter 9, verse 10. Those who know your name trust in you. For you, Lord, have never forsaken those who seek you. And essentially, you know, just getting used to trusting God. You know, we all, from time to time, have this plan for ourselves. And it can be small plans, it can be life plans, you know, it doesn't matter. And we tend to forget the fact that God's in control, and he's got our best interests. And just because it doesn't look like what we vision things to look like, doesn't mean it's not going your way or going the way you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
So I really lean on those verses from time to time, certainly in the last, you know, couple of years. Is just trust in the Lord. Trust the Lord. He's got your back. Just stay connected with him.
How true. That was actually my favorite verse. I remember Proverbs 3.
Yeah.
It wasn't John 3:16. It was Proverbs 3:5. It was the first verse that I ever learned.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought, you know, this fella came to me talking about Proverbs 3:5, and he said, you know, the trouble with you, he says, you're reading, you don't understand. You're not giving your heart to God.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about that. So he says, look, trust in the Lord with all your heart.
Yeah.
He will lead your way. And that's a good one. So
Yeah.
it takes
Yeah.
a while to develop the trust, I think.
Oh, yeah. It takes a lifetime for some people. And, we don't all, I'm sure we don't always get it fully either. It's, an ongoing practice. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So who or what is your biggest inspiration for your Christian journey?
Well, there's a couple folks that I like to touch down on, and first and foremost, my grandparents and of course my family. I wouldn't be here without them. I know they prayed for me daily. And if it wasn't for their prayers and their guidance, I'd hate to see where I could have ended up, to be honest with you. But they had a huge impact, and I remember a few times, in particular with my grandfather, we would be discussing life situation, and he would offer some advice and some comforting advice or encouraging advice. And often I would say, where'd you get that, or where'd you hear that from? And he would often say the Bible. So, he had a way of introducing this encouragement that he would get from the Bible and in his teachings and his understanding. And he would give it in such a way that it would get beyond my ignorance, and I would connect with whatever it is he's saying. And then he'd circle back and say, well, you should read this book, because, a lot of stuff I get there. And that was for me the best way to teach, because, I was the type of guy, there's a bit of a stubbornness to me at times, especially back in the days. And, if there was supposed to be a lesson and you had said, oh, it's coming from the Bible, then there would have maybe been at that time in my life some reluctancy, right? So,
Yeah.
And he had a way to work around that, and it was great. And my grandparents were definitely a staple and a foundation for my growth in my journey. One other person that really kind of picked up actually where they maybe had left off was Peter Goodyear, and he used to be a pastor here at Asbury.
Yeah.
He's moved on to different things, and he was a guy that really walked with me shoulder to shoulder, and a lot of times, especially at the very beginning of this new journey of mine.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of times we sat down, there were a lot of questions, and he spent a lot of time with me. And that not only meant a lot to me, but it really facilitated that growth in me. And so definitely he played a huge part in that as well. So
it's always good. You need that mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs a good mentor. I was fortunate I had one. My parents weren't Christians, but
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not their judge. I hope they've made their peace. But it is really nice to have strong mentors.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
there's been so many, but just to name a couple, that those were the ones I wanted to point out. But there's constantly people that are a positive influence on this journey of mine. So
Okay, now, Jamie, from the Bible. It's from the Bible. Besides Jesus,
yeah.
who would you like to spend, say, the day with if you had a chance? Maybe 24 hours.
Yeah. Well, there's not a bad option, I don't think, in terms of the number of options to spend 24 hours with someone, and I don't think there would be a dull moment for most of them. But the one that really sticks out that I would want to choose at the top of that list would be the Apostle Paul.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is I think him and I would have a great connection, and there's a lot of similarities. My initial walk, his initial walk, his initial mindset, mine as well, and then the turn. His life went from going one direction to a completely different opposite direction, and there's similarities there as well. Certainly not to compare myself to the Apostle Paul, because obviously there's no comparison. But out of the individuals from the Bible, I think him and I would be a great 24-hour period. I would have a lot of questions that I think that would help me, and of course just understanding and learning his journey would be just speechless. Yeah.
He's been everywhere, that guy.
Yeah.
Things that he's been through. Wow.
Yeah.
As a Christian, so I mean, this is a guy that was dropped on the road by Christ.
Yeah.
And look at all the things that he went through. So that's a good choice.
There's a guy that trusted God through and through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, just before we close, I guess,
Yeah.
do you have a word of encouragement for Asbury or say the next generation?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for the generations that's coming up today in today's world, I mean, as the world seems to be becoming more chaotic, more secular in its views, in its ways, I would encourage everyone, don't lose your faith, don't lose your hope. We're going to prevail here, and what we need to do is continue to have faith, have the hope. I would encourage others to pray every day, not only for yourself but for others as well. That is something that keeps us connected on a daily basis, and it's so important for our growth, and it's allows us to be Christ-like, in terms of what we get from prayer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. I think it's tougher to be a Christian nowadays than what it was when I was a young lad.
It's unfortunately it's unfortunate that the truth is that there seems to be a bit of a decline. Certainly back, generations and generations, and now it's obviously not as bad here in the West as it is for some places in the East for being a Christian, but it's definitely changing, for sure. But as believers, as a family, as we're continuing fellowship and encourage others, and be the light. That's what we need to do, and I encourage those out there to be that light, and things will gravitate to you.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, Jamie, it's really nice to reverse the roles today. I think.
Yeah,
I've learned some things about you I didn't know. I know your position in the church, but I thought I wonder about Jamie. I really don't know a lot.
Yeah.
Now I know more.
Well, I again, I'm very happy that you had suggested that, and I think it's a great idea when week in, week out, they see me here asking the questions, and obviously the guests change every week, and so at basically the end of the round one, essentially, is what we're doing is we're closing out the first round, and we're going to come back with a second round of questions, and hopefully have most of the same guests back, and any new guests, of course, are welcome. And we're going to try to carry this as long as there's interest, as long as there's people to do it with us. So I think it's perfect timing that you had suggested it. And thank you for giving up time from your day today, Dennis, to go over the questions with me. Yeah,
you're welcome, Jamie. I like the same 10 questions for everybody. I thought that was real unique.
Yeah.
Gives a real focus.
We're coming back with another round of questions, and then hopefully all the same guests with hopefully some new ones as well. So we're going to try to keep it going and keep the excitement going. And for all those viewers that have been week in, week out following us, we're going to try to get some more content for you. So just stay tuned.
Thank you very much, Jamie.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Dennis. And thanks again to our viewers for showing up and taking in the video today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have enjoyed sharing a part of my life, and I know Dennis has enjoyed doing it as well with me. So thanks again for viewing. We will be back. But until next time, we'd like you to take care of yourselves and each other. God bless, guys.
Bye-bye.